live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever, live on YouTube on this Wednesday evening. Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube. Steve Pulaski behind the microphone, joined by my two inimitable co-hosts. They're Joe Viso in the red, repping our alma mater, and Dominic Guanzon in the trademark blue polo. When are you going to officially trademark that? I keep saying trademark blue polo. When are you going to officially file patent?
Yeah, just trademark a whole color and a type of shirt. It's part of my daily life.
You know, the one man I would not mind paying royalties to.
All right, yeah, I'll take it. I'll capitalize that. I'll capitalize clothing. Do it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. It is America after all. It is America after all. It's good to be with you, gentlemen, though. Great to see both of you. Great to see everybody watching too live on YouTube, coast to coast. We come to you live and in living color every Wednesday evening, 6:30 Central Time after some turbulence. 6:30 Central Time will be our new time going forward. So it's good to have you with us. We're keeping it really slim and trim, but it's a first for Sleepless with Steve tonight. It is our first TV show review on the show, at least the Revival show. I don't even think we ever did a TV review on the radio program back in the day either. We never did. So this is a new era ain't apparel over here, as the great running back Mark Ingram would say. But yeah, we're reviewing the first season, or in Joe's case, most of the first season of iCarly. So the Revival series now streaming on Paramount Plus. So looking forward to chatting about that. I've got a lot to say about it. I know Dom's got a lot to say about it. And I presume Joe's got some thoughts on it as well. So we're going to be talking about iCarly Season 1 in review. Looking forward to it because it's also a show that we've all kind of grew up with and whatnot, at least on the back half of our childhood, watched it and whatnot. And we're also going to be talking about the Academy implementing some new changes for the umpteenth time to get people more interested in the Oscars. I'm not sure if it's the way to do it, but we will break that down in just a few short minutes. In the meantime, Dominic, how are you on this Wednesday evening?
I'm doing okay. I'm actually, as I was explaining in the green room, it's one I do have the day off, but it's one of those situations where you have so much to do. It's not really a day to relax, but rather to catch up. I am working most of the weekend, and yeah, it's I'm fine. So I had to give both of my cats somewhat of a bath. One out of necessity, and two, the second one because her sister got wet. Therefore, I had to put them both through the same situation. That way they can bond through the shared misery. Because I'm trying to get them also to bond as well. Because they, so that's. I'm trying to be strategic about this, but really the point is I need to learn how to cut their toenails. That way I don't have to take them in a car ride to get them done at the vets. Yeah, at the vets.
I clip. You know what the hardest part is? I mean, there's two things because I own two cats and I have two cats and I clip their nails. The hardest part for me is always getting them to sit still. If they would sit still and freeze for 5 minutes, I'd have no problem. The nice thing about cats' nails too is that they're transparent, so that you can see. They're like our nails, where you can see the red, you can see the nerve endings, you can see them, so you know where not to cut. I've been clipping every cat I've ever owned. I've clipped their nails. And I've never run into any problems. You know, you just got to remember, it's just like your own nails. You can't cut too low. Right. But I've never had a cat that was agreeable letting me trim their feet. I can usually negotiate the paws. It's the feet that they get like mad offended by.
Yeah.
It's definitely that. Joe, how are you doing, my friend?
Man, I had a very eventful week from last week. I got my wisdom teeth pulled out. So that was fun to deal with. So I was like knocked out all day Thursday.
How was the wake up? How was the recovery?
Man, I just remember waking up and like not the doctor, but the surgeon was just holding my head like, Joseph, stay upright. Joseph, just stay upright. And I was like trying to talk to them and have a conversation with them, like looking like this and like, no, just face forward, please. So yeah, no, it was really bad. So yeah, Thursday I was just kind of like laying around all day and everything, and just I watched Shrek 1 and 2, and then I was like, oh yeah, we have iCarly to review. So that's actually I restarted the whole season. I wanted to like because I kind of fell off the train. I was actually watching it up until like episode 7 is when like I was watching it weekly, but I decided to restart it all just to get another fresh taste on it. And so I was watching that like the entire time unconscious and everything. And then Michael K. Williams died, and it's like one of my favorite actors, and I was sad about that. And
That's
then
sad.
On Labor Day, I had the day off, and I kind of just took a me day. I went to go catch up on some movies I've been meaning to go see. I saw Shang-Chi, and I saw Free Guy in theaters. And yeah, that's about it, basically.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I forgot to mention too. I hope you guys had a good Labor Day holiday. Hope you, the viewer, had a good Labor Day holiday as well. And I don't know if we're gonna make this a full-fledged segment, but it does bear mentioning though. And how nice was it to wake up this morning and get a very beautiful message from Steve Burns of Blues Clues fame, a guy who's like pretty much fallen off the radar, who's been, the burden of millions of internet rumors and everything. Man, I woke up at 4:30 today to go to work, and I like usually have about 5 to 10 minutes to myself where I can just sit on my phone and catch up. Like, how did the world shift when I went to bed for like 7 hours or whatever? And Steve Burns was trending, and I saw this video, and it was a very inspiring video to wake up to, wouldn't you say?
Dude, it honestly made my day. It might even make my week. Like, just waking up to that, it was like, wow, dude, I literally got transported back to when I was a kid, waking up to watch Blues Clues, to watch Steve, like, tell me, like, some lessons and read some letters and all these other things. It was just like, damn, that was pretty cool. Like, thank you, Nickelodeon.
Yeah, that was something. That was really something. And like, I was just getting ready to go to work, and I was driving to work, listening to music. It's like 4:45 in the morning. And I'm just thinking like, you know what? I have come a long way.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Steve. Like that was nice. Then I saw just before the show, about a half hour before the show, I saw on TikTok, there was a video of like Steve with Donovan Patton, I think his name is, the guy who played Joe, who replaced him, and then Josh, who like I've seen, but I don't really know. I don't have me and Steve go way back like 4 seats in a Cadillac. I can't tell you about Josh. This Josh character over here. He's for the young bloods.
I saw
He's
that.
for the youths.
I saw that like it's all them blowing out a cupcake for like because it was the 25th anniversary of Blue's Clues, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They blew out the cupcake, and I was just like, okay, I know Steve. I kind of stopped watching when Joe came. I don't know who the hell this guy is. I'm like, he was maybe like from like the new generation, before it got like officially just done, when like they made Blue, I think CG, or like it was like a full on like animation with Blue only. I don't know.
It was cool to see that though.
It was.
Definitely very inspiring. And like, I don't know, I generally don't like those videos, like these videos where it's like, hey, have you eaten today? You're beautiful. Like, you can't see shit. I always hate those. Those videos grind my gears. It's the same with those Facebook graphics that say the same thing.
Yeah.
And I this is not a very popular opinion, because I know that like, for some people they work. But like when I see these graphics like, hey, did you eat today? Did you wash your face? This and that. Hey, you got a nice ass. I hate that stuff. I feel like it's patronizing, but like when it was Steve and we haven't seen him in a while, I know he's in a band and stuff like that. He's been in a band for a while. What's kind of weird too is like the way he's like aged, and he's aged pretty well, but he lost his hair and stuff like that. You know who he kind of looks like now? If you look up like contemporary pictures of Frankie Muniz, he kind of looks like Frankie Muniz in a weird way. Like they both kind of like lost their hair in the similar fashion, and then are around the same age. So I don't know. I just feel like those two, like, like there's a sitcom to be made with Burns and Muniz on that note.
Frankie Muniz is such a baby face, and Steve is kind of too. So I guess you're right on that, and more so the face than the hair thing.
I'm not crazy, am I? No, I mean, just the way they've aged it, like they both have that baby face, but like they both lost their hair. Like Frankie Muniz lost his hair fairly recently. And it's kind of sad what's happened to Frankie Muniz. He was one of my favorite actors growing up. That was a guy that's like, I always want to be cool as Frankie Muniz, but Don't sleep on Pizza Man either, the superhero movie he did. If you don't know now, you know. Frankie Muniz and Pizza Man. If you haven't seen that, I recommend that one. But we'll move forward, though. I wanted to get something in about that Steve Burns video, which was very pleasant to wake up to. I know it touched you deeply, Joe.
Oh, yeah. I grew up, Blue's Clues was my thing, man. Like, I know you had Arthur, like, sure. And I watched a ton of Arthur, too. I went to go see, like, the musical or the play when it came to Chicago. But Blue's Clues was really like my thing growing up, man. I was addicted to watching it.
I will say that I believe because the Josh, the new host of Blue's Clues, I think in one of the earliest episodes, maybe the first, I don't know. I'm gonna leave it behind. I'm with Joe, where it's like, yes, that I'm with you guys. Like it hit hard, and like that means a lot to me. I'm not gonna watch this. This isn't iCarly, right? This Blue's Clues did not grow up with us. It stays where it needs to stay. But I think in one of the episodes, like Josh, the new guy, he like got a call from Steve and Joe, and they're like in universe. They're still in the universe of the show, and they're doing stuff. And it's like, yeah, I started a detective agency, and it's Steve doing that. And then Joe's like, I forgot what Joe was doing, but it's all cool. So I'm just glad that I think now we've come to accept Joe for what Steve like apologized, like, hey, yeah, I totally like just kind of left and just threw Joe in there. So sorry.
I read an article this morning. It was like 4:40 in the morning. So I don't even remember. After I watched the video, I just looked at it and it was like, it was funny. They saw it like I wish I could credit the publication. I don't know, but it was a great line. It said like Steve gave 90s babies their first experience with ghosting. And I'm like, you know what?
You're kind of right.
That's accurate as all hell. I'm like, that's accurate as all hell right there. But we didn't plan to talk about that, but I thought I'd throw it in there since it's blowing up the internet, breaking the internet today. But yeah, we will not do a Blue's Clues revival season review. My heart cannot take that. I told you, I'm waiting for the gritty Arthur Elwood City reboot. That's what I'm waiting for.
There you go.
You know,
the Riverdale
stoner.
Yeah, the Riverdale of Arthur.
Buster's a stoner, and you know what I mean. Muffy's working at the Spearmint Rhino. I don't want to go any further, but anyway,
wonderful time to play.
using the library card for Coke. Okay, we've gone way too far. Anyway, so moving forward, let's talk about something dignified over here. It's the Academy Awards, which still very much months out. I mean, it's irrelevant. I don't really know what a front runner would be at this time. That kind of remains to be seen. There's been a lot of really good movies this year. I don't know if there's been many Oscar-worthy movies this year, but that'll change. We're getting into the cooler months of the year. But moreover, that's not why we're talking about the Oscars, however. This was a piece that I saw on Screen Rant from Adam Bentz, and this has been picked up by a lot of platforms. I just gravitated towards the Screen Rant article just because of the fact that it was one of the first that I saw on this matter, is that the Oscars broadcast is implementing some changes to try and increase ratings because the ratings were dour. We talked about it earlier this year, back in April, early May, when the Oscars telecast happened, how the Oscars ratings were down significantly. And I'll just mention this too, just to start. We're not going to go super long on this, but the other thing I'll say though, is that, doesn't it feel like Nomadland won? You almost have to remind yourself that Nomadland won Best Picture. I feel like it won and then nobody speaks of it. Nobody talks about it.
The only person I know that talks about it is Marvel Studios, because they're just like, Chloe Zhao, our Academy Award-winning director. Is this going to be like
is it going to be like an artist situation? Remember The Artist, the silent film, where it's that movie won Best Picture, right? And it's like no one talked about it ever again.
The Artist is one, I would say, the most forgotten Best Picture in the last 20 years has to be The Artist. And I would say Nomadland's on the fast track to be around the same. The King's Speech you could probably throw in there. But the fact that we're talking about forgotten movies that won the most prestigious award at the Definitive Film Awards is not a very good sign. And that's a reason they're trying to implement some of these changes. Now, there haven't been a lot of concrete reports as to what the changes will be. But what you have, though, is Matthew Bologna's, he's a Hollywood Insider. He was saying that the Academy Board of Governors won't meet until next month to discuss it, but he's hearing that several awards categories, like the live action animated short films. Those will be presented either before the show or during commercial breaks with a brief acknowledgement during the main broadcast. Because the one big thing with the Oscars, and they try to do it every year, they set this goal every year and they always fail at it. They try to keep it 3 hours. Because that's the time allotted, if you look at your like TV guide or whatever, is 7 to 10. It's never been 3 hours. It's always 3 hours and 20 minutes. One year it was 3 hours and 35 minutes. And even I'm over here like Judge Judy over here, like, come on, man, I gotta get to bed. But they try to get it under 3 hours every year, and it never happens. Because what happens is you think, like this year, I fell in the same trap. They were speeding along pretty well. And I'm thinking like, oh, this might end around 10:05 or so. But then they're like, oh, we're going fast. Now let's drag it out over here. Let's have Glenn Close doing the butt dance and everything. And then it's like, okay, now, holy crap, it's 10:30. But at any rate, though, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll be honest. I like the Oscars, but it's undeniable that it has lost a lot of prestige in the last few years, as have a lot of award shows. Just in general. And this goes beyond movie, goes beyond TV shows. It goes for music awards too. Award shows do not hold the same level of prestige as they did in the culture even 10 years ago. So I'm not sure exactly what they can do. Another thing that the Hollywood Insider, Matthew Bologna, mentions too, is that he says that it's also the increasingly niche taste of Academy members that he thinks might be turning people off, because it's another one of those things too, where it felt like very few people had seen the nominees, the Best Picture nominees this year. And there was almost no excuse to have that because they were all streaming releases, either premium or subscription-based services. So I'm not sure exactly what the solution would be, but I can't help but feel bad for like the short film directors too, you know what I mean? And filmmakers behind that, if they get slighted on that note, but it remains to be seen. Joe, your thoughts on the matter?
I'm going to go off of just what you ended right there. Like, I mean, you and I said this even back. This has been, as much as we talked about on the revival of Sleepless, this has been a thing that's been going on even when I was a part of the radio show of Sleepless, is talking about the ratings of the Oscars, what they can do to make it shorter, what they can do to make it better. And, you know, I remember always we used to say, like, the smaller categories, because this was always in the talks back in 2017, 2018, that they would cut out these categories. To me, I know you and I both said this, this is their time to shine. It gives them time to actually get credit, get their time in the sun, be in front of a camera and be like, I put a lot of work into this, and I want to thank all the people that are watching this from home, my family, my friends, my son, my daughter, whatever it may be. And now when they say those thank yous, no one's going to be able to see them. To me, it's like, look, yeah, if you want to trim this down, you want to make it shorter, and you want to get more views, just keep cutting out all the BS, honestly. Like, not having a host, to me, was the step in the right direction. And we talked about that on the radio show the year they decided to do it. I was like, man, it felt like it went like that. It actually felt like it was about movies. The whole show focused its entire thing around that. We didn't have to do stupid skits or anything. Not that, like I like when Seth MacFarlane hosted. I thought he did pretty good. But it's just like every once in a while you get a host that just goes on way too long with the skit or the opening monologue. It was nice that you come in with the monologue, you get going, and that's it. It just moves from here on out. I honestly think, like, why not just trim out all the other stuff? Like, I mean, like, this year we had, like, you know, yeah, the Glenn Close butt dance and the trivia and everything, and that was cool and was, like, laid back and everything, but it's like we can even cut that down even more rather than cutting out the people who are winning and, like, actually having their time to say their thank yous and having their moment of winning literally an Oscar, a thing they put their heart and soul into for a short 20-minute film. And it's like, making a 20-minute film, it's not an easy task. No. that could take years. I was part of a short film like production, and
same.
It's brutal. It takes a long time to do. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. And then yeah, you know, last year's, you know, and this goes without saying, last year's ratings, yeah, they were low, but that was also because, like, man, I remember even Dom and I said this. We had no idea the Oscars were going to happen that weekend until Steve texted us, because the promotion going around for that award ceremony was abysmal. It was like, it sucked. It was like, it was all over the place. Well, it wasn't even all over the place. It was non-existent. I really didn't see anything. And it's just weird because you came off the year where, like, it felt like everybody who, like, loved movies or anything loved the fact that Parasite won. And you would think, like, okay, like, we actually got a lot of buzz about that winning, for better or for worse from some people. Why not try to capitalize on that and, you know, make sure next year's show is even better? Let's take what we did here and everything, inclusion and all this stuff and everything. Because, like, I don't know, man. Like, you know, sometimes I look at the Oscars and it's just like, you know, when they have the whole, well, this is the first time we're doing this and we're including this, and it's just like, it's nothing to be proud of. It's like, this should have been from the start. Like, but you guys have this whole speech now you have to give. It's just like, this is the first year we're doing this. It's like, yeah, let's just actually get to it and let this person, who's gonna be the first winner of blah 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 blah, have their time to talk more about it. Like, come on. Anyways, Dom, go ahead.
It's always astounded me how this is the Academy Awards. The whole point of it is that it is a celebration of the film industry as a whole, and it brings together all these titans of the industry in a room, at least the forward-facing ones that you can immediately see. Meanwhile, you know, all the producers and bigwigs too are all getting drunk that night as well. It's all coming together for this night. And it always astounds me how during the actual show, the actual presentation itself, throughout these 4, 5, 6 hours or however long they go at times, we're doing daytime talk show shit. Like, we're having Glenn Close, yeah, you know, do a butt dance, which was funny in the moment, sure, but like, you have this magnifying glass on you, and you're doing that, and you can't come up with something better. Now, you know, it is difficult to say, you know, what would draw you in to the Oscars more. Now, I don't think the three of us are the average person.
Not at all. I don't know. I'm going to watch the Oscars every single year. They don't need to market to me. So that's why I almost like step out of it. You know what I mean? Because
exactly.
I'm so ingrained in film and I love movies. I don't need to be sold, man. I got my chartreuse liqueur. I got my cats. I got my night, my ballot. I don't need to be marketed to. You got to find other people. You got to get other people that are half as nerdy as me.
Yeah. So like, I don't think it's necessarily need to like, you know, play into, well, you know, let me say this, right? Would playing into more of the general audience, would that like by cutting the awards bring people in? I don't think so, because
I don't think it would. I don't think it would.
Because I think playing into, not necessarily to us nerds, but playing into the heart and soul of your actual purpose as an Oscars, as a celebration of film and awarding that justly. Honestly, I think the show just needs to do more work, like recognizing what it is and like just playing into that. You don't need to play into like movie trivia shit or whatever. Just play into like a celebration of yourself. So, and that sounds like really like jerking yourself off, but no. What I'm saying is like, there are so many. Yeah. So like going into like the things that make the movies so cool, and like highlighting that would be so magnificent. Like, for instance, stunt work. We talked about this before. How is there no Oscars for stunt work? Like, you have like, literally like people are dying over this art form, and like for decades now, for literally a century plus. And like, you're telling me we can't make an award for that? The most, probably one of the most physically demanding of all, like, that's the whole point, right? And like, just raising awareness by having that award would make it, I would think, inherently more interesting, because when people think, again, we're not the general audience, we're not normal in a sense, we're all movie nerds and fans and stuff, but like, I would like to think the general audience, when they think of movies, I would have to go to data, but I would think it's like when they think movies, fuck it, sorry, Tom Cruise, right? Movie stars, Steven Spielberg, directors. Like, I feel like people barely even think about scripts, right? And we do have awards for that. So like getting into more of the niche and like highlighting that, celebrating that. I don't know, best caterer. I'm joking, but like, you know what I'm talking about.
You walk a fine line though, because it's like, like, and this is where the snob in me comes out. It's like, I want to see movies like The Father get recognized, and like most recently, like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and Black Klansman. I want to see these movies get recognized and appreciated. But like, if the goal is to draw in more audiences, more eyeballs, I don't want to see F9 get a Best Picture nomination. You know what I'm saying? Because then you're going to dilute the product. And the Oscars is not going to have a hair of the prestige. So it's a tricky dance. I'm not saying there's a reason I'm not an Academy member. There's many reasons. I don't know how to fix it, Joe.
I was going to say, I think Dom brings up, literally, I'm just going to use the movie I saw this weekend. He brings up a great point with, like, you can find stuff even in those movies, like best stunt choreography. I just got done seeing Shang-Chi on Monday. And, like, I'm not going to go into the movie, but the stunt work in that movie is amazing. It's very well choreographed, and like, it's actually a Marvel movie that didn't use CG for the most part until the final climax. A lot of it was done on like actual practical stuff, and like actual like choreography was put in. So it was like, okay, like you could actually maybe like make a category for like these action films, because at the end of the day, God no, I do not want to see F9 win Best Picture or even have a nomination spot to something like The Father or In the Heights, like that came out this year, like stuff that I really think deserves it. But you can find things like, best special effects, I think has been like become that category where it's just the best special effects of blockbusters, and also like, drama films like, 1917 and other films too that like have like, Gone Girl, I think won it one year because like it like blended in buildings in the background so seamlessly. Like you could start like incorporating like categories like that, I think. I'm not saying like, don't go be like MTV Movie Awards and be like best action moment, best like female action hero. Like no. But like the actual art of like choreography, like it takes time a lot to learn and everything, and to like get it shot on camera and everything.
The Oscars are long overdue for implementing a stunt category. I think we all agreed on that. We talked about that during the last Oscar. That's
motion
long
capture
overdue
as well. Like, if you want to start making like include not a separate category, but including them into the best acting performance, or if you want to make it a separate category, go right ahead. I mean, we're having more and more motion capture performances nowadays that like. Could it be its own category at this point? Possibly, but it could. Like, I've seen people always say, like, why isn't Andy Serkis considered for this? Why isn't this person considered for this? Because, like,
doing it right is an art.
Yeah. Honestly, like, having your face being able to, like, like adjust it and everything, it is. The art form is changing nowadays, and like I know, like nowadays it is all about how much money can we make with a franchise and everything, but like. There are films out there that are taking a different approach of how to make something that it really does bring art. The Planet of the Apes films, like, I was just saying with Andy Serkis, like the whole motion capture that went into that for the apes, especially for Caesar himself. It's just like, wow, that was really revolutionary, honestly, like when it came for motion capture and just special effects in general.
Damn fine trilogy of movies too, there as well. Hey, I always forget about that. That is I would honestly say that is one of the most consistent movie franchises of the last decade too. And just terms of like, not a single installment was bad. Some were better than others, but not a single installment was bad. And I like that about that Planet of the Apes series. Good note to leave off on there, Joe. But we're going to segue into iCarly. Now we got a half an hour runway to talk about iCarly, just as Jagoff Zoom gives us the time for intermission. Really. But anyway.
Well, are we going to move on, or are we going to take
We're segueing.
Do you want to just take the intermission now, so we just like get that whole 45 minutes to talk about iCarly, or 30 minutes?
You know what? We could do that. Yeah. Why don't we?
Well,
okay. We're
are we still talking? Did we close out on Oscars talk?
We sort of segged. Do you want final word?
Well, that's a very man thing to do, isn't it? But I'm probably just going to bring up more points of discussion. Why do people watch these? Why do people watch award shows? There's kind of a reality like TV show-esque drama to it, where it's like, yeah, he got his. We want to see the reaction. and it's like, oh, they didn't win or whatever. I don't know. I think the landscape has also changed. The audience has changed. Celebrities, people are less interested in Hollywood celebrities because everyone's a TikTok, YouTube, social media star. And that's honestly, that's kind of what we're low key trying. We're just doing this to talk, but like, hey, we put effort into this show, right? So we're trying to be celebrities in and of itself, deep down inside. But so I think people are just, I think the nature of the show is just going to get more niche. I think this was inevitable, as you can see for a lot of other shows. And personally, I don't really mind if it gets less. If the Oscars do get less viewers, I know there are vested interests who absolutely do care. But hey, I don't think cutting awards is the solution there. So no. I think I don't think that's logically. I don't think that's a good solution. But also, even if that was a solution, much in the same way where, the whole point of C-SPAN is that it is very boring, and that, we are going to talk to these representatives, whether you care about them or not. Like this is kind of the service of it. And I know the Oscars isn't really a public service, but there's that kind of element to it. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. And that just runs the risk of pissing off people like the three of us, who are going to watch it regardless. The core of the core is going to get offended by that. But I also said too, and while we got this runway and we're just screwing around, I'll just end with this. The other thing that I'll say with these short films too is that this is partly the Academy's fault in the end of the day too with these short films, because and I know people are going to be like, nobody cares about the short films. Nobody cares about the short films because they're not fucking accessible. That's the problem with these short films. Shorts HD was doing a good job for a while, letting these movies be released in compilations, like 2-hour compilations. Here are all the nominees, $4.99 to rent on Amazon. There you go. And it was nice. It wasn't perfect, but it was nice. You at least had the option to watch them. This past year, you had 2 on Netflix. I remember for animated short films. You had 3. I think you had 2 on Netflix. 1 was on Disney. The other 2 you could not watch. Legally, at least. You couldn't watch. And that's aggravating because it's like, you're not doing these movies any service. It's like, because those are the categories that you always have to guess when you're making a ballot. You always have to guess because you don't really know. You haven't even gotten a chance to watch them. The documentary shorts are even worse too. Now with streaming services, I think there's like almost no excuse as to why these movies are not accessible in some capacity. But that's always infuriated me. And it's like, I'm complaining about this in 2021. 10 years ago, you really couldn't watch these movies. You had no idea how to see these things. You couldn't even look up where the hell you could watch them, But anyway, with 6 minutes left, we'll take a brief Zoom intermission just for about a minute and a half. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back, and we're devoting the last 25, 30 minutes of the show to talking about iCarly, the revival series, now streaming on Paramount+. Great talk, gentlemen. We'll be back in a minute after our Zoom-sponsored intermission. Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube. Back and better than ever from our Zoom-sponsored intermission, Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube. Went very long on that Academy topic. I'm glad we only had 2 topics today because that was definitely one that I didn't know if we'd come as hard as that one.
Oscars always go long, opinion. So
Oscars so long. Anyway, iCarly, that's what we're talking about now. The revival series on Paramount Plus. And man, oh man, this was something to watch. I watched the first 2-3 episodes on a weekly basis, fell off, and then I binged the last 10 in the last couple of days. And man, I'll tell you this, I'm not going to go super long here, for general thoughts. We're going to go kind of through general thoughts, our favorite episode, and then the criticisms, then the rating. That's kind of how I structured the discussion on this with these gentlemen here. But general thoughts just right off the bat. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs. In some ways funnier than the actual show or than the original show, in my opinion. Definitely has that degree of randomness that made or broke some episodes of the original series, but didn't really do it here as much. And this is the thing that this show gets right from the jump, is that I've almost had to remind myself in some episodes, oh yeah, they're still doing iCarly. They're still doing the web show. This felt less focused on the web show than the original show, for the better, in my opinion, because we've seen 80-something episodes worth of the web show in the original show. We want to see, as millennials, we want to see the characters stumble bum their way through adulthood. And that's what you get with this series, with a little bit more of an adult, edgier touch, but it's not too dirty. By the way, Dom, I owe you $5. They never did drop the F-bomb. I do owe you $5 from the bet we made with the pilot episode. I was pissed. I kept waiting for that lone F-bomb that never came. But no, it's not without its criticisms, for which I have a couple that I'll get into later on. But it's fun. I like the cast a lot. I think Lacey Mosley, I think it's really unfair to compare her to Jeanette McCurdy as Sam. I think it's really unfair. And it's sad that she's going to have to bear that cross for a while. But I liked her. I'm not going to say I didn't miss Sam, but I thought that she was a fun character for the most part. I thought some of her side adventures got a little bit obnoxious, but, just with the fashion designer business and stuff, I thought that got a little obnoxious. The character I did not expect to love as much as I did was Jaden Triplett's Millicent. I thought she was like, micro mini Megan. I kept thinking of her as like micro mini Megan over here. I thought she was great in the show for the most part. I thought she brought a nice little degree of sass to it too. This was fun to revisit. This was charming, and that's going to be the word that I keep using for this. This was charming in a very big way. Joe, what say you about the episodes you did watch of iCarly?
I have to basically kind of just piggyback off of what you said. It was honestly a very good reboot. I was really pleasantly surprised because when we talked about the news of it getting rebooted in the trailer, I even said, I'm like, yeah, I was never crazy about iCarly. I was more of a Drake and Josh guy and everything. I'm like, but this does look promising. I'll probably check it out. And I'm glad I did, because what Steve said about the whole idea of it not actually focusing on the web show was, I think, its best strength, because it's that's what I was worried about. It was okay, are we just going to get dumb little gags here and there of them doing the show, but now they're older and everything, and they're probably not going to have that funny material like they did on Nickelodeon, or the energy to do it. It's no, instead they actually focus on issues that millennials are going through and everything. And I was just no, that's the way to do it. That's and just have that thing kind of be in the background as to why Carly is popular, how she gets by every day, and all this other stuff. That works. If anything, it was just fun to see at least these characters again, because I did watch the show. Despite not being a crazy fan about it, I did watch it, and it was a lot of fun to see Carly Spencer and Freddie come back to play their characters. I had a great time seeing that. And if I won't ruin any of the cameos we get from other characters throughout the show, but those were great too. And I'm hoping with season 2 we get even more of them, especially a big one. But
I know. I think I know. I'm about 75% sure I know.
Even though I didn't finish the season, I'm like, I gotta look up. Am I missing out on seeing this cameo? And it's like I looked it up. I'm like, okay, I'm not.
I know. I think I know who you're talking about.
But yeah, man, I had such a great. I think only one episode I didn't like, and it was the episode where like it kind of talks about cancel culture in a sort of way, and like Spencer is mad at Carly, and like they kind of go at it. I thought that episode was like. Okay.
The full apology.
Thank you. Yeah,
that one. Yeah, that was my weakest. That was my pick for weakest as well.
The best episode by far, and this is where it was the last episode I watched was I Take a Girls Trip, and like I've been seeing this thing all over TikTok and everything, and like when I saw that, I'm like I have to at least get to this episode. And I pushed so hard to like actually fit like an episode into my schedule and everything, or watch it during like my lunch breaks at work. And once I finally got to it, I was like, okay, thank God, here we go. Because that episode was a gold. That when Freddie and Carly take like basically a trip to a hotel. There's some really good gags there, and like, man, it was really funny. The other episode,
there's adult gags too.
Yeah.
Which I was impressed by, where it's like, oh, okay, you are going here with this, like flat out. A third character just straight up goes for it. It's like, okay, cool. This is actually a mature joke, and not like the most intelligent one, but you know what? This iCarly has grown up. It has absolutely grown up.
The other episode I was gonna say, like before I watched that one, that was my favorite, was I Got Your Back, where it actually really gave time for the character of Harper, played by Lacey Mosley. It actually really gave her time to shine, and you really got to see her and Carly's relationship, because like I felt like those first 3 episodes, I'm like they were, at least the Apologize, whatever the hell it's called, but like the I Start Over, I Hate Carly, I'm like those were really good episodes. I actually really liked watching them, but I'm not really getting a good sense of the new character of Harper. Millicent though, I mean like she just, anytime she comes on screen, she's just literally, like you said, like
she could charm a dog off a meat wagon. Seriously.
But like that episode, I thought finally gave Harper some screen time that was desperately needed at the start of the show, and then like eventually from there on out, I was like, you know what, yeah, she ain't gonna be Sam, but like she is a new character and she's good.
She is good.
And like I said, it was great to see Freddie and Spencer, especially like they kind of had like this bromance or like bro relationship with each other in some episodes that I thought was fun to see. Yeah, man, like I got really nothing negative to say. It's very easy, digestible sitcom television at its best. And honestly, like Paramount Plus doesn't have much to watch on there, and most of its original movies aren't that good. I would say this is probably the best thing they got on there. And for people our age that grew up with it, for the price you pay for Paramount Plus, it's even less, I think, than Disney Plus. I think it's worth it. If you're an iCarly fan, yeah.
Yeah. I was impressed by how not only did the humor kind of grow up, and also didn't completely milk it for all it's worth, where they just started. There's an episode where Carly takes heroin. No. But like it not only do the jokes kind of mature in a graceful way, in a PG-13, and like the occasional, should that have been our kind of way? The problems of these characters also grow up tenfold, because they're not going to high school, and literally they're not in high school anymore. So it's like, yeah, hey, here are the struggles of trying to break away from an old car. Here's the struggles of attending a friend or an enemy's wedding and all that stuff. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, I totally relate to this, because these are the things I will or have already gone through. And I mentioned it before, but I am very glad that they went through with this, how the original 3 characters that did come back, Carly, Spencer, Freddie, they all have these nice twists from the original. So Carly and Spencer they have a tinge of asshole to them now. And
they do.
Particularly Spencer.
More so Spencer, but Carly does too. Carly's got this like almost and it's mentioned
like narcissistic
too. She's got this like persnickety narcissism about her, where she always thinks she knows best.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's and that plays perfectly into her character, kind of being the main person anyway. And not nearly enough to make them hateable. I'm still rooting for them. It's really interesting to see where they go with it. But
they're flawed though. They're human.
Exactly. And Freddie too. The fact that I'm really glad they actually brought in one of the ex-wives and how they tackle that. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, it's not ugly. That's actually another thing where it's like, yeah, he got divorced twice and he has to deal with that, and he has a stepdaughter. And it's like, how do you handle that? It's like, oh, okay, you actually handle that in a very mature way.
And it's not cartoonish too. I hate to keep interjecting. It's not cartoonish, but I love even too Gwen and Carly's relationship. Like how they twist that in the very beginning of the episode too. Like, you know, it's human. It's not like this cartoonish villain like she's the most evil witch on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And so just overall, just the maturity of the series, it didn't need to go in a, you know, radically different direction. I mean, it could have, and I don't think it would have been very effective. So yes, it's more of the same, but it has clearly built on top of it far better than other reboots that are desperately trying to capture a sense of the original. And it's like, you're capturing too much of it, man. It's like, I'll just put on the old ones. So it's does anyone care about Fuller House anymore? I never even watched. I was never even a fan of Fuller House. That
reboot sucks ass. All right, I'll just say
I don't even know. I have no connection to it whatsoever.
I didn't watch it.
So there you go. I guess that proves my point. I can't go too much into it. You know, my favorite episode actually wound up being the most profound to me, which was the I need space. Which is the one where they join, not the MLM one, but they join this kind of
women's club,
all women, women's club, and it's like very progressive, seemingly on the outside, and there's like it's very kind of neoliberal, hoity-toity, and all that stuff, and it's like the girl power, yeah. And then it's like the fact that the show was able to take girl power, a seemingly extremely safe position for everything to take these days, particularly corporations. And the fact that they can tackle that as a negative and like point out the flaws in that.
Yeah.
To the point where, I guess I'm going to spoil it a bit here. You kind of see it coming, so hardly a spoiler, but really, at one point it's revealed that, you know, the whole point of the operation is to take advantage of the patrons and take advantage of them at their most vulnerable moments. And I'm like, holy shit, if that is not just the summation of social media, of like capitalism at its heart, you know, just taking advantage of us for money's sake and you know, our data and our most private, intimate moments. If that ain't that right there, I am slightly disappointed. Well, actually, you know what? I take it back. At one point, instead of exposing the people in charge of this operation, they kind of hold it for blackmail. And so it's like, should I be proud of that because that's devious? That's like a real Millicent move, or should I be disappointed that they didn't go full with the right thing? I don't know. But the fact that this episode was able to tackle that head on and go above and beyond the very safe, you know, girl power, particularly because the protagonist, you know, is a woman in and of herself, and just take that in a really cool direction. I'm glad of that. In terms of criticism, kind of a holdover from the previous show where it's like, there's a cringe here. There's like a layer of cringe. Yes. You can't deny it.
There's a layer of cringe, and this is the nagging problem with iCarly, and I'll get to my favorite episodes in a minute. There's a layer of cringe that was not present in Drake and Josh. It wasn't present in Zoe 101.
Yes.
It wasn't present in like Keenan and Kel, even though I know that's not Schneider. But there's a level of cringe here. Thankfully, there's no goddamn random dancing at the end of the day. But like, you know, there's just a level of like this randomness that always annoyed me. Like they couldn't think of a cogent joke. So it's like, here, penny tease. Let's draw faces on our toes. Like stuff like that just irked me. It's not as played up here, but it's present. It's definitely present.
It's less so partly because they're more adult now. So it's like, okay, we're out of high school. We're kind of done with that. Additionally, they're not doing the web show on screen as much because a lot of it stemmed from that. So that's good. But there's still a layer of it. It wasn't in other Nickelodeon shows, but it was present in a lot of others. Like I didn't watch too much of Victorious, but like it was there as well.
Victorious had it.
Yeah.
this is a Disney show, but like Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, where it's like you can cherry pick a lot of good moments there, like the Prindle. But it definitely had that as well. Fun fact, the guy from Sweet Life of Zach and Cody actually directed the first episode, Phil Lewis. But that is just a fun little fact there on the side. But yeah, there's still a layer of it. And I think this is just part of the show now. Thankfully, however, if you don't get completely turned off of that light layer of cringe after the first 4 or 5 episodes, you're probably used to it by now. And it's like spice, man. It's like, is it gonna be there? Yeah, but like, how's it gonna be there? Okay, cool. It'll just because I was watching with Chelsea, my girlfriend, and it's actually I know you guys were saying it's not very it's hard to binge watch a show these days. Not so much when you're with someone who's kind of a pothead, which is Chelsea. Much as I love her, this is the perfect show to binge watch in that case. And it's kind of a popcorn series as well. But yeah, there's a layer of it that kind of keeps it interesting, not in the best way that it could have been, but just interesting. So you know what? We'll learn to live with it, and we have. So yeah, that's honestly the biggest part. And like kind of things like, I feel like you could have done that joke better. Not that I'm a director, but it's like, I don't know. Again, very nitpicky. I could get into it.
What I like too, here's another element that I did like. I liked how like the first 6 episodes, and Joe, like I said, you didn't finish it, but without ruining anything, I like how the first 6-7 episodes, they really established a good foundation. And then the episodes start bleeding into one another as they go on. Like there's continuity arcs and there's character arcs that carry over to following episodes. They didn't do that right away. They let you get used to Harper and Millicent and the new dynamics and the altered personalities before they brought that in. I'll say too, my favorite, I was going to go on my favorite episode of the show, because I think I'm the only one that hasn't given it. My favorite episode, quite honestly, is the IMLM episode. The multi-level marketing episode, because my God, here's the thing. As all guys in our mid-20s, we all know somebody from high school that got sucked into a pyramid scheme. Yep. We all know somebody that tried to get us, looking at you, Cutco, but that ain't neither here nor there. But anyway, you damn knives. But anyway, I love that episode for a couple of reasons too, because the subplot of that episode is Harper trying to break out of her Skybox coffee shop gig to pursue her dream as being a fashionista, which is tough, or a fashion designer rather, which is tough position to be in, as we're all in our 20s. It's like, you're trying to figure out that path. And I think that did it really well. I also really I didn't like the subplot of this episode with Spencer going blind from the pepper spray, but I honestly did find myself pretty gripped by the I Hate Carly episode. I did find myself pretty, I don't know why. That was like an episode that I feel like could have been an original episode, like from the original series, but it was done with a degree of tact as an adult and talking about the bitterness. But if you want to talk about the most cringeworthy moment of the whole season, man, it's got to be that character's final minute when he finally gets on iCarly. Yeah. Oh, my God. I pulled a muscle cringing, which I know was the desired effect, but God.
It's moments like those, because it's like I said, I like that episode a lot, too. I thought, because I believe they released the first 3 episodes on Paramount, or the first 2. And I remember out of that grouping, that was my favorite one when it first got launched. And I was like, this is great. But yeah, I remember seeing that last minute where he starts doing the poetry or whatever. I was just like, see, this is why I never got into the show that much, is because they would do stuff like this.
Here's my argument.
It's not even so cringeworthy. It's funny though. You know what I mean? It's just bad. Yeah. It's just bad.
See, I feel like they could have just executed it better.
I
conceptually
agree.
It was right. That's what I'm saying. It's like you could have done that joke better, because I can see an opening. Again, I'm not a director. I've never done any kind of show running or any kind of that sort. But at the end of the day, I don't know. It's like right there. But anyway, you picked a good slate of them. Honestly, I think my favorite character, because I know you guys went over, I think it actually has to go to Harper, because Millicent is great. Don't get me wrong, but I really grew into Harper because Millicent just kind of came out of nowhere for all of us. So she had that going for her. But for Harper, she had, the comparisons to Sam. She's a woman of color and she's bisexual. And on top of all of that, in terms of the traditional hate, there's also the perception whenever you cast someone who is of color or of a different sexual orientation, you kind of have to like work on that really hard to make sure you're not the token of that character. Yeah. It's like, we just kind of threw her in there because she was Black and bisexual. We're good. Again, kind of like how they tackled that I Need Space episode where it's like, girl power. No, wait, there's actually something going on here. In terms of Harper, it's like, bisexual, Black. Wait, no, she actually has her own hopes and dreams and personality quirks, and she actually meshes really well, and she has really fun, chaotic timing.
She has personality traits that I would mention before saying she was bisexual. And that's the kicker, too. What have I long bitched about with movies? About how, like, if the character's defining characteristic is their sexual orientation, you don't have a character.
Yep.
They play with it, too. Because there's a subplot in the wedding episode where Spencer and Harper are going at, and like they're trying to like, hey, who can pick up the most dates here at this wedding? And it's like Spencer goes, Harper, you have an advantage because you're bisexual. And it's like, are you seriously saying that as a bisexual person of color, I am somewhat this is I have an advantage in life or something?
As opposed to enthusiasm. Played with that joke too. Larry was talking to somebody. I think Larry was talking to Jeff and Curb Your Enthusiasm. And he goes, "These bisexual people, they got no reason to complain. They got the whole effing world." He goes, "They got no excuse to be lonely on a Friday night."
So just in terms of how they handled, the perception of wokeness, in shoving these characters in for the sake of it, I think this show handled that awesomely. More foundational things, same old, but how they handle that, I am very happy to see, because there's a lot of shows that did shove it in there that did just drop the ball going. I
was gonna say, no, that I think that's what honestly made me go, you know what, actually I'm gonna stick around and keep watching this, is like, because like it would surprise me with something like that every so often, and it's just like, not only is this like a reboot of something we grew up with, but like to see it actually go that extra mile, I was like, wow, you know what, actually not a lot of TV shows in general actually do this. They just do the bare minimum, like Steve says, where like, they just introduce a character and then like, the trait is that they're gay or they're bisexual or they're Black, whatever it may be. And this is just like, is Harper my favorite character? No, she's probably like top 3 for me. I still think my favorite character, I really love what they did with Freddie, man.
Same. Freddie's far and away my favorite. Freddie's far and away my favorite.
It's probably Freddie, Millicent, then Harper, then Carly, and Spencer. I really love what they did with Freddie, man. I went into this thinking like, oh, the original 3 were probably my favorite characters. No, it's just like Freddie like shot to the top, but the other 2, the newcomers, took the top 3
He's
spots.
Like so washed up when you first see him again. It's so funny.
Like, and
I love Freddie. I love what they did with him.
Yeah.
I think I laughed every time he was involved with something.
He's great, man. And like the I Love Gwen episode, I think that was the one that made me go, you know what? Out of everybody who got brought back, I love what they're doing with his character, honestly. It's so damn good.
The other episode that I liked a lot too, and because it reminded me too, I'm not going to say it's the most well-written episode of the series, but I do like it just on an entertainment level, and it's not really, it's just an entertaining episode, because it reminded me of the Storm episode of Drake and Josh, when they're all trapped at Drake and Josh's house during that violent thunderstorm, was the episode that like I throw a dinner party or whatever. The dinner party episode with Wes's Nana, that I like that episode a lot, just because how it brought everybody together and like entrapped them in this sort of setting, and Freddie's trying to launch the app and whatnot. I really love that episode. I love episodes where they can get all the characters together and they can get their little moments and their little bits and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then that I Need Space episode was good too. I swear to God, I almost dropped the Bible when that woman who ran that Argentina or whatever, when she tells Carly, "Listen here, you little bitch," I said, "You don't talk to Miss Cosgrove that way. You do not talk to Miss Cosgrove that way." I'm like, oh,
it's
man.
Just bitch, but like it hits so hard.
It does. And like when Carly says it at one point, just to sort of wrap up here, when Carly says it at one point, when she tries to quote Harper that you got to switch it up on a bitch, I'm like, you could tell Miranda Cosgrove don't swear in her personal life. You could tell that. You could tell that Carly Shay does not swear in real life. You know, but they didn't go overboard with it. Like, there's not a sex scene. It's very firmly.
It was close to one.
PG-13. Yes, there was. But no, it's very respectfully PG-13.
Yeah. If they would have gone that extra mile in that one episode, I would have been like, okay, I don't know about this anymore. I
would have been all for it. I would have been all for it. Throw on Genuine Pony. Come on, like let's see this. Ruin my childhood 2021.
Oh man.
It's 3 out of 4 stars for me. What's your final ratings?
Dom, go ahead, man.
Yeah, honestly, solid 3 out of 4. I'm actually really happy to see where it goes, particularly where they left off on the Joe. Promise me you'll finish it.
Go ahead. No, you can.
Yeah, because just promise me you'll finish it because I am curious to see where they'll go from there. Because it's like dual parallel romantic things. I'm like, okay, this is actually getting interesting. I'm not usually like into that like shipping and stuff. I take that back. I wrote Sam and Freddie fan fiction. So who the hell am I to talk? But yeah, dude, 3 out of 4 because I'm just so proud that this show actually handled its character work awesomely. You know, in terms of like the pacing and joke by joke thing, script writing, sure, still need work. It's always kind of needed work, but the characters, that's why we love this show. And it's got room to grow, man. It's got room to grow.
Send us home.
I'm the same. I got to, like I said, I'm only have 3 episodes left, but where I'm at, it's an easy 3 out of 4 stars. I really did enjoy it. I had a fun time watching this. And Don brought up the best point, man. Like they actually treated the characters and actually did stuff with them that you don't typically see with reboots from time to time, or even just like, shows in general. Because when it comes to a show, if you don't have characters that are fun to hang out with and good to go back to, or even interesting to hang out with, like, I'm not saying like every character is fun. Like Tony Soprano's not a fun guy to hang out with, but he's an interesting one to watch. But like with iCarly, I honestly love the cast. I love this reboot cast, and I'm glad to hear it got renewed for season 2. And even though I have not finished season 1, I am going to finish it, and I can't wait to see like what you guys are saying and find out where it's going to lead to. So yes, 3 out of 4 stars for me.
Whenever we get season 2, I think we ought to review it on the show once again. I think we should. So well. The next show I plan on binging, I think it's going to come out week to week, though, is the new Chucky series that's coming out on Sci-Fi, Child's Play, based off the Chucky character. That comes out next, I think like a month from now, like the 13th of October. So I can't wait to tackle that. In the meantime, it's been Sleepless with Steve. We come to you live and in living color every Wednesday evening, 6:30 Central Time until around 7:30. Next week, I don't want to say what the movie is. We're a little up in the air right now. I don't want to say what it is, but we will have a show. It'll just be Dom and I. Joe's leaving us again and tasking Dom with the lofty duties of managing the show. But Dom's a veteran. He'll do it, and he'll do it ever so well. We'll be back next week on Sleepless with Steve. Highlights are posted on my YouTube channel right here. Don't forget to check out my website, stevepulaski.com, not only for highlights, but written reviews as well. For Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon, and yours truly, it's been Sleepless with Steve.
live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.